folks, and welcome back to another Pinal Prep Spotlight brought to you by Jones Ford Buick GMC, your hometown dealer for more than 50 years. Some of our teams are going to be wrapping up their regular season this week. Other ones are still have basically one game happening next week on Monday. But for purposes, before jumping into all our playoff stuff next week, we're just kind of going to talk to you guys about some of our potential playoff teams here for both baseball and softball. Do have to point out that qualifications for the state tournament are a little different here. 6A and 5A conferences, it's the top 24 teams regardless of what region you're in. 4A, if you're the top team in your region, you get an automatic bid at least to the play-in tournament. And then 3A and 2A, it's the top two teams in the region. So this kind of blows everything out of proportion for everybody, but nevertheless, we will likely have a ton of teams in action next week. But real quickly, David, who are some of the teams that are kind of on the bubble and also a shoe-in to make it next week?
Yeah, I'm going to start with baseball, and I'm going to just run down a list of teams that we have. But first, I'm going to start with a little bit of a surprise for us that I believe that we kind of didn't see coming. It's in 2A. It's Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz Valley Union baseball team has been really solid this year, and it's probably been the best year that they've had in a very, very long time. They are 10-6 right now. They're currently ranked 20 in 2A, so they have a decent possibility of making it to the play-in, which would be the first time in a few years that they've been able to play some either play-in or play-off baseball. And this team has been really solid. This team has come in and found some new guys and some young talent that's going to be able to lead this team not only this year but next year and years on. So they've had a good group together and they've really performed well. So I expect good things out of them going into it, and I hope they can keep going. It's a really good surprise to see them and to see them perform well. But throughout the rest of the baseball field, we'll go up to 3A. We got two teams that are currently right on the bubble a little bit, but ranked pretty high. We have Florence that is currently ranked 8, and then Santan Foothills that is ranked 7. These two teams have been pretty solid through 3A. Florence has a 10-3 record. Santan Foothills 11-2, so they've been really taking care of business in 3A, and they're going to be a player that we'll see for sure in the 3A play-in for most likely, or even make it to the playoff as well. And then for 4A, like you mentioned, 4A, if you're leading your division, you get an automatic bid in at least to the play-in, and it looks like Post and Butte is going to be able to take that route. They're ranked 11 right now. They're doing really solid with an 11-3 record, and they've kind of taken this form of, they had a lot of seniors graduate last year. They were a little bit depleted, but some young guys have filled in and has found their roles, and some previous juniors from the team last year are taking the mantle of that top senior talent, like Connor Lopez has been really solid for them, both on the pitching mound and in the batter's box, so he's definitely a guy to look forward to this year. Up to 5A, we have Casa Grande, which is 5-9 and ranked at 17 right now. They've had an up and down season. This is definitely a team that lost some talent last year that are looking to kind of rebuild a little bit, but still trying to kind of hold their place in 5A. And they've done okay so far, but I definitely think they were hoping for a little bit better performances this year. So they're going to be one of the teams we kind of have to wait and see where they fall out in the play-in and who they get matched up with if they make it to the play-in. And then that's pretty much wraps up for baseball.
All right, so for me, for baseball, two conferences really stand out. The 4A conference, David mentioned Post and Butte, but we also got to mention Vista Grande. Like I mentioned, top teams in the region make at least a play-in round. Vista Grande is currently undefeated in the 4A Black Canyon region. They pretty much control their own destiny here. They wrap up this week. They're currently on an 8-game win streak, so this is the ticket for Vista Grande. They started out a bit rocky to start off the season, but things are finally looking up for them. Competition hasn't been as tough as it was in the beginning, which is kind of a concern for me right here, given who their opponents have been in the 4A Black Canyon region and how this can potentially hurt them. As far as the postseason goes, and that better competition just upping up a level. A little bit. In the 3A conference, David mentioned Santan Foothills and Florence. Top two teams in the region make it into the postseason. Santan Foothills is currently second under Chandler Valley Christian, and then for Florence, while Florence is number 8, and the top 8 teams get a bye from the play-in round, Florence did lose last week to lower ranked ALA Ironwood at number 22. So these could kind of switch out for them here. So we'll have to wait and see how this one turns out once the season wraps up. And also do have to mention the final game of the regular season is Santan Foothills and Florence, so that's going to be an exciting one to look out for. Transitioning over to softball, David, what's this looking like?
Well, for softball, it comes down to we pretty much have at least one lock that is going to bypass the play-in round and go straight to the playoffs, and that is in the 2A conference with Santa Cruz Valley. Santa Cruz Valley, we've all known this. Santa Cruz Valley is probably one of the best softball teams we have in the county, and they're really talented, and they're just continuing to roll through. They're 12-2 right now. They've done really solid so far. They've just continued to build around a really young core with a lot of team chemistry and a lot of fun. This is just a really fun team to watch, and that's kind of how they like to play. They like to play loose a little bit, but also take care of their business when they're in the field. So this is definitely going to be a team to look out for, and they're always looking for championships. They want to bring another title back to Eloy, and I think they can definitely do it as long as they're able to kind of stay focused, but also play up to the competition that they will face in 2A, because the playoffs are a whole different beast when it comes to 2A softball. And then wrapping up with 3A, we have two teams: ALA Ironwood at 8 and Coolidge at 19. Coolidge will most likely make that or be in that play-in round, and then ALA Ironwood has a possibility of bypassing the play-in with their current ranking. They're 11-3 with their record, and then Coolidge with 9-2. So those two teams we're going to have to look out for as well. 4A, Vista Grande has done pretty solid a little bit. They've kind of had an up and down season, but they're definitely going to be around there and just kind of trying to figure out where they're at. They're currently ranked 25, and then Post and Butte just behind them at 26. So these are two teams that are going to be battling out for these last couple games to try and squeak into that play-in round for sure. And then in 5A, we have Casa Grande at 20, ranked 20. They have a 6-7 record. Also a little bit of an up and down year for them with a new coach and everything, but they've played really well. They have really solid hitters with them. And it just kind of comes down to finding the right pieces and also playing really good defense. I think this team definitely has the potential to make that play-in round and perform well, but it just kind of comes down to matchups and what happens when we get the final rankings. And then with 6A, we got Maricopa. They're ranked 22. They have a 12-2 record. Maricopa has quietly become one of our top teams in Pinal County as well, especially when they go up against some really tough teams in 6A. They're able to hold their own. They've done well so far playing against some of these tougher teams at 6A, but it really just comes down to matchups again with 6A, especially because there's a lot of good teams up there. They're going to be facing the cream of the crop when it comes to softball in Arizona. So they're going to have to be on top of their game. And, there's some really solid teams. We have a lot of talent both in the baseball and softball side, and it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out once we get those play-in brackets and eventual playoff brackets.
All right, again, I got to highlight our same conferences from the baseball teams. Vista Grande, again, softball team controls their own destiny. They only have 3 games left against Tempe, AJ, and El Mirage Zeisler. They've already defeated all these teams, so they're a shoe-in to win the 4A Black Canyon region and secure that play-in round game. Casa Grande Union, kind of a twist here. 5A, they are currently ranked number 20, like David mentioned, but they're just coming off a 1-0 loss to Higley this past week. They play Higley again. They could win this, and then, the 2 games they have left against Queen Creek, Castile are also winnable. So I can see CG Union kind of jumping up from those lower 20 and making it up a bit higher. And then 3A, ALA Ironwood is currently number 8. Had the playoffs started last week, they would have bypassed the play-in round, but they did lose to Florence, so also, they're going to see a slight dip here. Can they recover with the couple games they have left? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. And then just wrapping things up with Maricopa. They made it to the play-in round last year. I personally thought it was kind of a fluke for the Rams, but they're showing that, hey, that's not true. They're turning into a playoff contender, much like some of their other teams out there in Maricopa. But they do have a tough task to wrap up the season. They are going to be playing Surprise Shadow Ridge twice, and Shadow Ridge is currently one of the top 10 teams in the 6A conference. Like I mentioned before, this is a good competition for them to kind of springboard them into the play-in round. So as always, we'll have to wait and see how this one turns out. Like I mentioned, play-in tournament begins next week. We will be bringing you guys previews of whatever games we have going on, so be sure to tune in next week. And as always, check out all of our sports coverage at Pinal Central.